Oh, hi, YouTube family. Thank you so much for stepping by to my channel again. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new to my channel, you're welcome. Feel right at home. On the Cusp with Daphne is a place where inspiration meets evolution, a place where we evolve together in the journey of self-discovery and growth. Today, we talk about questions you're likely to encounter or questions you're likely to be asked at your interview as the healthcare assistant, HCA. Amongst the probable questions is the question that goes along the lines of, tell us more about yourself. This is typically a generic question for so many interview setups, not just for an HCA jobs. It's a great icebreaker for the interviewers because they get an opportunity to hear more about you without them probing that much. And this is your opportunity really to shine and bring your best qualities forward. So it's an open-ended question that you can go to town about and talk for ages and ages, but be mindful of the time. So keep your answer in a summarized version. This is the opportunity for you to tell the employer who you are, what you're all about, bring your qualities forward, and things such as recognitions you've had before, what you've been recognized for, even if there are no recognitions, but for you to just talk about your qualifications, your experience, and make sure your answer is applicable to the position you have applied for. Remember to clearly state the years of experience you bring with you to the post. Remember to mention your qualifications when you qualified, any professional bodies you may be registered with. You may be that person that was nominated for the International Carers Day or things like that. You may also be a person that gets constant feedback, positive feedback from your clients. So these are the points to bring forward to this question. Talk about your qualities as well. They come a long way. Your patience, the fact that you're a patient person, you are a caring person, it's in you to want to bring the best in people. And it's just also one of your characters to be selfless and so giving, and just it makes you feel good and satisfied to be of assistance, and you love being part of the solution. So this role provides you with an opportunity to let your qualities shine and apply them on a daily basis. Another question I have is why? Why do you want to be considered for this position? So in essence, the question is saying, why do you think you are the suitable candidate? Why do you want to be considered? So you'll notice that this question ties in very closely with the first question, in that it will make you touch on the qualities, the attributes that you bring to the table, that you are an honest person, you are a hardworking person, you are going to be working with vulnerable people. So there is so much that they depend on you for. So the fact that you are trustworthy makes you a suitable candidate. It's important at this point that you also touch on the fact that looking at the job description, you looked at the job description and you feel you are a fitting candidate that is worth considering for this job. Do mention aspects of the job description that best describes you or that best puts your best qualities forward. That is why you want to be considered. It would also be good for you to add things such as your great organizational skills at this point, your time management, your respect for confidentiality, and your respect for privacy, because it shows that you have read the job description and you understand what this job entails, that you will be expected to manage your time efficiently most of the time. Do mention that you do work independently very well on your own, as well as you're a great team player, because you cannot again be seen as a recluse or too much of an introvert within a workspace that requires you to interact with others and to interact with your residents. So do mention that, yes, whilst I work so independently, very well on my own, I'm also a great team player. My communication skills are excellent, because you will be required to communicate. So bring those very key aspects to the fore, just so it is clear that you understand what the job entails. And mention your physical fitness, that you are able to undertake many of the requirements that you need to do. So you may be given a scenario type of questions during your interview, something that will force you to think on your feet, but it's just nice to think of these things right now. For example, you may be given a scenario where you get told that perhaps a young person or a resident or a confused or patient with dementia becomes aggressive, how do you manage that situation? So in any scenario question, I'm going to tell you a piece of advice how to think of this scenario and just create more for yourself that you're going to practice with for any scenario type of question. One of the many ways you can address this kind of scenario question is in the format that I call a STAR format, that I refer to as a STAR format that has helped me in the past. What do we mean, the STAR format? So STAR is an acronym that stands for the situation that you're dealing with, the task at hand, what do you have to do? The A stands for action, what action are you going to take? And what results do you aim to achieve? Or if this has happened in the past, what results have you achieved? So that's your STAR: situation, task, action, and result. And of course, the result has got to be favorable all the time, and not just favorable for yourself, favorable for everyone involved. It may even be that the question goes along the lines of, tell us about a time when you had an aggressive patient to deal with. Using the STAR format, you may have to think of a time perhaps when you had a confused resident who was aggressive, who thought their room was on fire and they needed to escape, therefore breaking everything around them to get away from this fire. That would be your situation in the STAR format. What is your task? And do say that I had to reassure this resident, calm them down, and make them feel safe, and reorientate them to time, place, and self, and remind them that they. So reassuring the resident would have been your task, if that's clear enough. Action. This is the part where you mention that you approach the resident with your hands open so they could see that you were not carrying anything, that were not feeling intimidated. You did a risk assessment, you looked around to see if there wasn't anything that might endanger your very own life. And you may mention that in this place, because it was a high risk unit, you got given all the time when you come on duty panic buttons. During this time, you pressed your panic button to escalate the situation, the need for help, to escalate the need for help. The panic button, the buzzer, which then calls your backup for your colleagues to come and assist you. But it's important that you mention that during this time you were able to reassure and calm this resident. You were able to reassure him at least to sit down whilst you wait for help. By the time your two colleagues came to help you de-escalate the situation, he was sitting down, and it was much more easier for him to be reorientated when he saw more of the familiar faces around. And very slowly and gradually, he slowly come around and realized where he was and that the room was not on fire. This is just an example. So that would be your A, which is your action in the STAR format. And of course, not forgetting to show your support for your girl on the cusp with Daphne by sharing, liking, commenting, and subscribing to the video. And feel free to request more content that is related to this. I'll be more than happy to share more content with you. In the meantime, do share, click, like, subscribe. Thank you. Conclude by talking about the result at the end, that the patient was reassured, and he was later actually quite apologetic that of the sin that he caused. But you reassured him that it's perfectly normal. Those things do happen, but it was a happy ending for everybody, and they knew where they were. They felt safe in your company, under your care. Another question which you may be asked is, has there ever been a time where confidentiality of your client, resident, patient was tested? This is a very common question. So as an example, you may actually link it to the scenario you just spoke about. In that you could say, this whole thing happened during visiting hours, and there were relatives in the common lounge where everybody sits, and your colleagues had to leave running to come and help you. And when you went back to the lounge, a couple of the relatives were quite curious, wanting to know what happened. And you just told them it was nothing, you just needed help from your colleagues, and everything is resolved. They don't have a reason to worry, because this was an opportunity again for you to break confidentiality of that resident and start telling relatives who have nothing to do with the situation about what happened. So it will be a perfect example of how you've ensured and maintained confidentiality, therefore maintaining the dignity of that resident that just had an issue with feeling unsafe. So in the interest of not making this video unnecessarily too long, I hope you get where I'm going with scenario questions, with the questions to expect. There will be a part 2 to this video with more questions if you so wish, if you request. It depends on what you say in the comments below. I'm more than happy to add more of other sample questions for the interviews. And of course, be prepared as well to have questions of your own pertaining to the job. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions where the employer says to you, do you have any questions for us? The temptation usually is to say, no, I don't. But it would be nice to just have 1 or 2 questions, particularly ones that show that you have done some research into the company or the job role itself. And perhaps you'd just like to know, in addition to what you have, should you be successful, what other skills do they think you could invest in to better equip you for the job in case you're successful? Or perhaps to say you were just looking on the website and you saw that the home was established in such and such a year, they closed down for 2 years, and just have curiosity around what was the reason for the closure at the time. It could be that, I mean, now with the COVID and all that, you never know. It could well be that it could be COVID related, or it was another issue altogether, or compliance or CQC that was not met, and now it's been up to date. It's unlikely they'll disclose something that shoots them in the foot, like a CQC report that didn't go well. But reasons such as COVID and just general information show you that you are really interested and have gone out of your way to research more about this particular employer, prospective employer of yours. And lastly, on the issue of pay, how much you're going to be getting paid, typically, it is thought that you don't ask about that. My understanding, though, would be jobs that are advertised are coming with a very clear job offer that tells you what to expect more or less. It could be you will be within a range or roughly around that figure, but you have some idea. So perhaps hold back and wait to be told if it's not been clearly specified. So with that being said, we come to the end of this video, not without asking you to please share, comment, like, especially to subscribe to the channel so I can bring you more content that is going to be along these lines, and any other content you may wish to see on this channel, feel free to request that. Thank you for your support. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned and see you on the next one. Remain on the cusp as we evolve together.